welcome to this in-depth breakdown and tutorial of the 32-channel SSL Origin console. Whether you're a professional engineer or producer, an audio student looking for advice on this board, or just an audio enthusiast looking to learn more about large mixing consoles such as this one, today we're going to explore what makes this console a powerful tool for modern DAW-driven studios and how to perform any basic function that this board has to offer. My name is Hawley, and I am a senior music media production student at Ball State University. Today I am in Studio 3 of the MMP Studio Suite, where we just last year got this beautiful console installed. I hope that this video can be a helpful resource to Ball State students who are learning on this particular SSL in this configuration, but also to anyone out there who is interested in learning more about this board and potentially including it in your studio setup.
The Origin console by Solid State Logic, released in 2020, is an incredible step forward in designing an analog console specifically for use in a DAW-centered studio, while also honoring the rich history of SSL, which you can learn more about by going to their website, which is linked in the description. I have also linked the product pages on the SSL website and Sweetwater, which you can refer to, as well as the user guide, which is where my information comes from.
For the sake of this video, we're going to assume that you already have your SSL Origin set up, configured, and powered on. If you need more information about how to set up your SSL, there's a wonderful playlist of videos which I will link here, as well as in the description. In Studio 3 here at Ball State, we have all of our inputs and outputs connected through our patch bay, so I will make several references to certain configurations that are specific to this studio, so keep that in mind as your setup might be a little different. Let's dive in.
The SSL Origin is a fully analog inline console designed to integrate seamlessly with DAW-based workflows. It brings together classic SSL design with modern flexibility, featuring a modular center section, precision metering, and a newly designed mix bus architecture that delivers ultra-low noise and high headroom. Let's take a closer look into how the console is configured. On the very top of the console, we can see the double meters for the 32 audio channels, 8 stereo groups, and our mix bus. On the left and right sides of the console, we have our channel strips. These each have duplicate paths represented by the small fader and large fader. Each channel is equipped with SSL's new super analog pure drive preamp, direct out, 2 stereo Q feeds, 4 mono aux sends, a 4-band EQ section with an additional high-pass filter, and routing for the 16 buses. The center section is modular, and every single piece above the faders can be moved and adjusted to fit your individual workflow. The center section is also designed to fit 19-inch rack mount units, so you can add your own outboard gear. This center section includes the meters for the stereo groups and mix bus, our master section, which includes our bus routing, our stereo group faders down at the bottom, and this specific console at Ball State is equipped with SSL's UF8 Studio controller. You can find more information about that specific unit at this link here and in the description. On the back of the Origin, you'll find all the essential connections. It's equipped with 32 balanced XLR inputs for the mic channel inputs, and all other routing is streamlined through DB25 connections, making it easy to integrate with an external patch bay for maximum flexibility. In the center of the rear panel, you'll find a detailed diagram of what each of the DB25 ports is for, as well as the power controls for the console.
Now that we have a basic understanding of the different sections of the Origin, let's take a look at each of them in depth.
Let's start by breaking down the channel strip, where most of the magic happens. Each channel features a fully balanced electronic architecture, and they are broken down into 10 main sections: channel input, monitor input, direct output, stereo Q feeds, mono aux buses, high-pass filter, SSL E-Series 4-band equalizer, bus routing, small fader controls, and large fader controls. Starting with the input section, we have 2 key areas: our channel input section and our monitor section. SSL Origin, like many other inline consoles, has a dual fader system, with it being up to the user which fader controls each of these 2 paths. Let's start with the channel input section. This section feeds the small fader path. It is fed from the XLR connector for mic level and DB25 connector for line level, which you can switch with this button. It includes polarity and 48-volt phantom power switches for your microphone inputs. The preamp, which SSL calls the Super Analog Pure Drive, operates in 2 modes: Pure for a clean transparent sound, and Drive for a more harmonically rich, saturated tone. With the drive switch unpressed, you will have 0 distortion up to the clipping point of the channel strip. To engage the drive function, simply press the drive button, and as you increase gain, you'll notice a shift from subtle warmth to increased harmonic distortion. The monitor section is primarily used for DAW returns. It feeds the large fader, making it ideal for monitoring recorded tracks or analog summing. The path flip function allows you to swap the monitor input to the small fader. This is useful for changing your signal flow as needed. The direct out on your channel strip is what in most cases is going to be sent to your DAW or to your recorder. It is defaulted to post fader and small fader, but those can be changed with the two switches. This next section allows you to send the channel signal to the two stereo Q sends. These are fed from the long fader path, pre-fader, post-insert, but can be switched to source from the small fader path. The stereo Q feeds, QA and B, allow you to create headphone mixes that follow the large fader monitor mix. In our studio here, we have stereo QA set up to feed foldback A, which then feeds into our headphone amplifier. Keep in mind that the channel signal is only at full volume in the Q bus when the send level is turned all the way up and the pan is fully left or right. When centered, the pan reduces the level by 4.5 dB, a balance between the usual -3 dB and -6 dB settings for consistent sound. As is common in many other sections of the channel strip, we have our post fader and small fader switches. After that, you have the similar mono aux bus section. These are fed from the long fader path, default post fader, post insert, but can be changed to pre-fader or to source from the small fader path. These sends are typically used for external effects like reverb or delay. Moving further down the channel strip, we see the processing and routing features. SSL Origin comes equipped with the iconic SSL E-Series 242 4-band parametric EQ. The high frequency and low frequency bands can operate either as shelves or bells, giving you precise control over your frequency adjustments. The high pass filter is separate from the rest of the EQ, so you can insert them separately. The mid bands, high mid frequency and low mid frequency, have dedicated Q controls to adjust the bandwidth, allowing for surgical or broad tonal shaping. Both the high pass filter and the rest of the EQ section have their own insert switches, as well as a path flip switch to change the source from the small fader to the long fader. The bus section is how you can route the channel signal to any of the 16 mono buses and subsequently the 8 stereo groups. We'll dive into this more in depth in a little while, but the general controls are you have your route switch, follow path pan, and an LF-SF path flip switch. Next we have our 60mm small fader, which as we mentioned is defaulted to your channel input. You have your typical pan and gain control, as well as solo and cut buttons. You have this SF from LF button, which allows you to feed the long fader channel into the short fader, if you would like to create a parallel mix. You also have a 0 dB switch, which bypasses the fader and puts the channel at 0 dB. This is useful for when you want to keep all of your volume control in your DAW. You have your insert controls to put the small fader insert in the path, as well as pre-fader if you'd like. Then you have the small fader to mix button, which takes your small fader to your mix bus. The large fader, which controls the monitor input by default, is 100mm, providing precise control over levels. You have pretty much all the same controls. You have your pan up here, long fader insert as well as insert pre-fader. You can send your long fader to your mix. You have a 0 dB button down here by the fader, as well as your solo and cut buttons.
Alright, so now I'm going to demonstrate how to get some audio from a mic source in through our console and into our speakers. So in the other room I have a microphone, I have an SM57 pointed at a phone playing some pink noise. So if you come in here, we're going to start up here in our input section. It's plugged into channel 1, so I'm just going to turn up the gain on channel 1, and you start to see that we're getting some signal in our channel in. So then I just go down to my small fader controls down here. I'll bring this up to about 0 dB and just hit SF to mix, and that will put it through our mix bus. Now you want to make sure that your mix bus is turned up as well as your monitor level. So this is what it's being sent to, and so that's all the way up, and then this is sending it to our speakers. So this mix bus could theoretically be sent to multiple different sources, but right now it's routed to our monitor source, and so you want to make sure that this is up as well as this. And I see my dim is engaged here, so it'll get a lot louder once I take this off, or maybe not a lot louder, but that's okay. And that's how to get it through the small fader. So now you understand how to get audio from your small fader into your speakers, and that's really helpful for whatever you're doing analog. But if you want to start getting stuff into your computer, you're going to need to understand how to use your long fader as well. So it all starts the same way, so we still just have signal coming in through channel 1, so I'm going to turn up that gain until we start to see signal. And then our short fader is actually what's going to be sending that signal into Pro Tools. So you can either bring it up, and you start to see up here that we have something in our monitor level, and that means that we're getting it in Pro Tools. So I'm actually just going to press this 0 dB switch, but you're not going to put SF to mix. You don't want to send your small fader to mix because then you just have a duplicate signal. So now we have a signal from channel 1 going into our DAW into Pro Tools. And now we come down here to our long fader, and we're going to put LF to mix because they are returning to Pro Tools 1 and 2 as a stereo signal. And then as we turn these up, we start to get it into our speakers. So once again, it's coming down through our small fader, and that's what's sending it to Pro Tools, and then Pro Tools is returning back into our large fader, channels 1 and 2. As I mentioned earlier, this center section is completely modular, so there are a lot of different workflows that you can accomplish. Everything except these group faders here at the bottom are movable, so you can reorder everything in here, including the meters which are installed at the top of the console here. Above the faders, we have an SSL UF8 DAW controller, and then going up from there, our console has the master section, which is the heart of the console, giving you total control over routing, monitoring, and dynamics. Let's take a deeper look at the master section. One of the Origin's most famous features is its bus compressor, found here in the center section. This compressor is the same classic design that's found on the SL400 G series console from 1989. It has multiple ratio settings, which you can find here. It goes from 1.5 to 10. It has a sidechain high-pass filter and an auto-release function, making it ideal for mixed bus compression. On this console, as you decrease the ratio, you also lower the effective threshold, maintaining perceived loudness. Next is our monitor control section. Now there are 3 stereo external inputs that you can use here, as well as our 3.5mm jack input, as well as our normal mix bus here. SSL's monitor level famously goes from 0 to 11, which is a nod to the movie Spinal Tap. You also have dim and cut buttons here, and you can also control your left and right signal mutes individually. You can also sum to mono, as well as control your alternative monitors. Now this monitor select section here allows you to choose between multiple sets of speakers, and then up here you have the controls for levels. You have a built-in 400 Hz oscillator that's available for signal testing, and you can also have an external input that will go to that, and you can send that to your mix or to your buses and control the level here. Next we have our solo master section. Now this section changes the behavior of the solo buttons on the channel strips. With no option selected, solo switches activate after fader listen. This sends the selected path to your after fader listen bus, and monitoring switches to output that bus non-destructively. If you prefer destructive, you can solo in place your long fader with this control, your short fader with this control, or your subgroups, which links the solo and cut actions. This could be useful if you need them in different modes. Solo link, which you find here, connects the solo and cut connections for long fader and short fader. In-front balance routes a mix of after fader listen and selected stereo monitor source. IFB controls that balance so you can adjust a source in context. It also contains a control for the level of those solos, so you can make them louder or softer, as well as a red light switch, which you can connect to a record light in your studio.
The meters section controls the behavior of all of the precision meters on the console. This section contains controls for having your mix meter follow your monitor source, peak mode select, peak clear, and dim controls for a variety of meter categories. You have many different options at your disposal with peak mode select, so to view those different settings and how to control them, please refer to page 31 of the SSL Origin user guide. Next is our cues and aux masters section. Here you'll find master output trims for your stereo cue A and B, as well as your mono aux sends 1 through 4. This section also contains the after fader listen switches for all of these Qs and auxes. In the communications section, you will see your controls for talkback and listen functions, which allow easy communication between the control room and performers. You also have a matrix of sources and outputs for your talkback and listen functions. Your talkback switch is a momentary switch with automatic latching. Dim is linked to the talk function and can be toggled by holding down the talk and dim switches simultaneously. The listen switch puts the listen mic input into the control room monitoring. This would in most cases be an omnidirectional mic in the recording space for your performers to communicate with anyone in the control room, basically a reverse talkback. This uses the listen mic compressor to maintain constant signal regardless of source distance. This can be sent to the talkback, but be aware of potential for feedback. Talkback and listen have flathead trim controls. The external talkback out allows talkback to be sent to multiple locations. The slate button sends your talkback signal to all 16 bus outputs and your mix output. This is primarily used to mark your takes. You can also connect an external mic as your talkback microphone using the same connector in the talkback section. The talkback microphone that we have here in Studio 3 at Ball State does require 48-volt phantom power, so be sure to have that on if you're working in this studio. The miscellaneous section contains the auto sleep control, the wake sleep button, and the shift modifier key, which can be used for a wide variety of different functions on the console.
Bus routing on the SSL Origin is highly flexible. Let's walk through the basics of how to route a channel to a bus and some key features that go along with that. So if you come with me here down to the bus section on channel 1, let's say we want to route channel 1 to bus 1. So what I would do is I would press the routing switch on channel 1, and it's going to blink that blue LED just to show you that it is in routing mode. And then I'll go over here to the bus section and I will tap that routing switch, and that's just going to stay illuminated to show you that it's routed. And then if we go back to the channel section, if I tap that again, it will stop blinking. Now it's out of routing mode, but it is routed. So you can also do the same thing in reverse. So let's say I wanted to route channel 2 to bus 2. I'll go over here to the bus section. I'll tap that routing, so you see it's in routing mode. All other routing lights go off. And then I'll go back here to our bus section on our channel, and I'll tap that one, and you see that they are routed, but you see that bus 2 is still in routing mode. So I click that, and now you see that bus 1 and bus 2 have routing on them. So now if I hold bus 1, that light is still on, so it shows you where it's routed. And same for bus 2 if I hold the bus 2 one. You can also route incrementally. So let's say I wanted to route 4, 5, and 6 all to bus 4, let's say. I would hold all 3 of these bus switches. And so you see all 3 of them are blinking there underneath my fingers. And then I just go over here, I tap 4, and now you see that they're all routed to bus 4. In order to clear your bus routing, you go up here to the miscellaneous section, you hold your shift key, and then you just press the buttons of the ones you want to clear. So you can either clear one at a time. So I'm just going to put this back just for demonstration's sake, or I can hold shift and press my first one and my last one, and it will clear all the ones in between. Now I'm going to show you how to take that same signal from earlier, that noise coming from a phone in through a microphone, that's going to come through our channel input. We're going to route that to a bus, and then bring that bus to the mix by sending the group. So first, I'm going to bring that gain up so we start to see signal on our channel input. So you see that, and then I'm just going to come down here to our short fader because that's what's controlling the channel input. I'll bring that up to 0 dB, but I'm not going to send it to the mix because we're going to send it to the mix through the group. So right now on our bus control, we see it's routed to long fader, so we're going to switch that to our short fader, and then I will take my routing switch and I will route that to bus 1. We start to see signal there. And then if I go down to this group control, I will just bring that up to 0 dB and send it to the mix, and we have signal. And I can also, if I want to have that signal on left and right, I can hit this mono left switch, and now we get it equally across both speakers. SSL Origin is an incredible balance of vintage SSL sound and modern workflow enhancements. With its flexible routing, legendary and powerful processing, and vastly customizable configurations and workflow, it's the perfect solution for modern hybrid studios. I hope that this video has given you a greater understanding of how this console works, and you understand what you need to start using it in your studio setup. Thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions.